Forming bracket!
What's going on, everyone? So welcome to my latest video. This is, of course, my review for Antlers, which is a 2021 film that was originally supposed to come out in 2020, but as many of you probably know, the pandemic hit, so this was one of those movies that unfortunately got pushed back. I still remember seeing trailers for this pre-pandemic and being quite excited for it because Scott Cooper, I think, is a rock-solid director. He's the same director who did, like, Black Mass, Out of the Furnace, Hostiles. I've seen all of his movies, and I will be ranking his films. Actually, shortly after this, I will be filming that video and ranking them, and then I'll be posting it months from now. But he's a director that I am interested in, so when I saw the trailer for this and obviously saw that he was directing, I was intrigued because he's never done a horror film before, and also Guillermo del Toro is actually producing it as well. So I was intrigued, and I have to say, after watching the movie finally, I feel mixed to disappointed. On one end, I really liked the atmosphere that was created by Cooper, especially as someone that, again, isn't too familiar with the horror genre in terms of direction. I thought his direction was actually quite exceptional. It really kept me engaged, and I was quite intrigued as to where it was going to go. In addition to that, the dreary cinematography really got me honed in on the environment, and I really liked what he did with the usage of shadows and everything. In addition to that, the serious tone, the production design, the acting, I thought was all top-notch. I really liked the acting. I do think that some of the performances should have been utilized a bit more, especially with Jesse Plemons and Graham Greene also. Graham Greene, I especially think that was really underutilized, and I'll get into him in terms of the negatives. Not his performance per se, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I think that these are all aspects that are pretty strong, and I do think that the gore, when it does appear, is really good. The makeup for it is very exceptional. These are all aspects that I really, again, was engaged by. And I think that this is a movie that I will say really drew me in with all those aspects, but also the build-up. I thought the first, and even I would say most of the second act, does a really good job of building to the third act. But I think, unfortunately, the third act really starts to unfold. This movie reminded me a lot of the movie Mama, which is also produced by Guillermo del Toro, and that movie also starts out pretty strong, but quickly descends into schlock. And I think a lot of it has to do with both of those movies, is that the characters have ideas that are intriguing, but unfortunately aren't really that developed. I was engaged with the characters early on with this movie, Antlers, but I think that with what happens with them, it doesn't really kind of justify, because for the most part, these are characters that are two-dimensional, but they're dealing with three-dimensional themes. You're dealing with themes such as like grief, obviously the loss of loved ones, of course, abuse. These are all very mature themes that the movie handles, and I think that the ideas behind them are good and obviously worthy of discussing, but I just think that because they're placed on the two-dimensional characters, they're just not really fleshed out. And it's a shame because, again, I think that they are intriguing to say the least, but just not handled the best way that they could have been. The arcs of some of the characters also just really aren't that satisfying. And I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, it has to be a satisfying arc in order for it to be, like, good. I just think that the way that they ended a lot of these arcs, it was kind of like, eh. And by the end, that was just it. It was like, eh. Even the ending, which I know the ending they were going for, like, a shock value, it was more of like a, and like for me, I don't like that. I think that the way the movie was trying to build up to that third act, you really kind of got that feeling of like it wanted to kind of give you like a gut punch, but instead it was like a whimper ending, unfortunately. And again, the third act just really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I liked how the movie didn't really have the creature in it that much. You didn't really see it that often. But then the third act has it where you see it. And don't get me wrong, I said this in my Hannibal TV show review. When you have CGI, it is smart to have it in shadows and everything because you can get away with a lot more. This movie has it where there are shadows for sure, and they're taking cues from Hannibal. But unfortunately, they have it where there's also a lot of scenes where there's not. And unfortunately, it looks kind of silly. It's not bad per se, but it is silly looking, and that's also similar to the movie Mama, where they don't really show Mama that much, but when they do, it kind of looks a bit silly, and that's the case with this movie too. Also, going to what I was saying about Graham Greene, this movie is taking from folklore, Native American folklore, and they have one Native American in this movie, and that one Native American is Graham Greene's character, and his character is just the exposition dumper. That is it. He is giving nothing. I honestly wish that they focused on his character. It probably would have been a lot more interesting, honestly. It could have been more three-dimensional instead of the two-dimensional characters that we have that, are just kind of catalysts to get to the ending. So I just think that having Graham Greene as just an exposition number really is a disservice to this movie. And honestly, it was something that really stuck out with me, especially whenever he would come and he'd just be telling us these stories. And I was like, well, this is interesting, but like, I kind of wish that we had it from his viewpoint, so that way it wouldn't just be like, hey, we need to kind of figure out what we're doing here. Let's just get Graham Greene so he can explain it to us. I don't know. It just kind of, like I said, rubbed me the wrong way. But in the end, Antlers, it's not a bad movie per se. It's just a movie that, again, feels like kind of a disappointment. Starts out strong, but again, it quickly falls into drivel. And that's just pretty much my best explanation of this movie in a nutshell. It falls into drivel. But yeah, Antlers, guys, for me personally, I'll be giving a 2.5 out of 5-star rating. So yeah, no hot sauce rating. But I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. Did you like Antlers? Did you not? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you guys want to talk about any spoilers, comment down below. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Look for the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.